So this morning I'm trying to figure out where to put the seat cleats on the bulkheads. And they're both shown on here. Here's the bulkhead at frame 7. And you can see, so that's the forward bulkhead. You can see where the seat is here and over here. And it tells you that these are pieces of oak that are 3/4 by 1 1/4. So that's pretty much the same dimensions as like our deck beams. And then you got to figure out what these are. Well, I just measure this. This here is about 10 inches. In reality, it was about 1 1/4 inches. So that's 10/8, which is 10 inches because an inch is equal to 1/8. And I couldn't figure out for the longest time how to get this in here because you can see it's kind of at an angle. One of the things that I noticed that the reason it's at an angle is because then when you're sitting here where the combing is coming off of the shear clamp, the combing should be kind of at a right angle so that you can sit in there at 90 degrees and rest your back up on there. So it took me a while, and I thought, well, what if I just draw a line across from all the way across here, a straight line, and then measure down to the floor, because I have the floor in. About 10.5 inches in reality from here up to this line. Now, whether or not that line's right or not, I don't know. And then after a little bit, I started thinking, well, what if I measure down from the top of the deck beam? This is the deck beam going across. And you know, it's got this arch to it. And what I figured out is that this angle coming up like this is parallel to this. The seat is parallel to this. So that made it easy. I just measured down from the top of the deck beam down to the bottom of the seat cleat, and that's 1.5 inches, which is 12/8 or 12 inches. So that's what I'm doing. So I cut out my pieces of oak. I still just have all these little scraps, which is a wonderful thing. And this one I've mounted in here. So what I did then is I just measured from the top of the deck beam down, drew a line at 12 inches, and you can even see part of my line over there underneath there. And then I started just drilling my holes through the back here. Now, I got a little nervous about this because that's not quite 1/2 inch cedar that I'm going through, and I just didn't know how strong it was going to be. So I took a little tiny, this is actually that piece of wood that I had that I was using the other day when I was figuring the radius on the back of the transom. I just cut that little piece of oak in half and made a kind of a backing plate, and then I'm using 1 1/4 inch bronze screws going in there and screwing all the way into the cleat. Now, something else is, you know, you got to figure your angle for how that cleat comes up against the inside of the planking there. And you've got 2 angles. You've got the angle coming down and then also aft. So, see, I set my table saw at an angle here where when I cut that, and I just use my bevel tool to figure the angle, which we've done in other videos previously. So I now have my other piece of oak, and I'm going to measure that off at 10 inches. And then it's about 10 inches on one end and 9 on the other, so it makes it easy to figure the one angle. So it'll be about like that, and then we'll run it through there, and we should have what we need for the one on the port side, which I haven't even begun to figure yet. But now I know all I got to do is measure down 12 inches from the top of the deck beam, and I'm there. So I'll be able to draw my line and then put it in there. More when we do the back one. So we got the front seat cleats in on both sides, and they're just shy of being 12 inches from the top of that rail, but we're only off by about 1/16 of an inch. It's good enough. I did screw these in from the back with that extra little piece behind them. See it down there, and that just makes it really strong. And I did that on both sides. Screwing it in on the other side, I'll having to use my left hand and find out how strong you are. Now I'm getting ready to do the ones in the back. So kind of same process. Go to the plan over here. And I've already done all my measuring. And so this is the aft bulkhead, frame 19. Here's my seats. These are the cleats that have got to go in to hold the seats on top. So I've measured these. I need pieces that are 14 inches. These are longer than the ones in the front. And then I figured out 6/8 down from the top of the deck piece. And it appears that these are pretty much parallel with the deck beam here too. So 6/8 is 6 inches. And then if I subtract my 1 3/4, because that's the thickness of this, I need to come down 4 1/4. So I took my little square ruler here and I set it at 4 3/4, and then I just take it and hang it on the top of here like that and come down and make my line underneath there like that. The camera's not really showing that that's lines down under there, but it's right. And then it comes over 14 inches. Now the next thing I'm doing is, every once in a while you get these little scares. This deck rail, this deck beam back here is much thicker than what the plan calls for, and I just wanted it beefed up because I wanted it really strong. But I almost ran into a problem because this comes all the way up to here, and then the seat board is another inch. It's going to come right up underneath there. It'll be fine, but for a minute I didn't know if I was going to have enough room. Okay, so then I'm always still trying to use pieces of the tree that I cut down when I can. And I've had this piece here for a long time. It's got this big nasty knot in it. You can see where I hacked it out with the chainsaw, and it's got a little bit of sapwood. You can really see it right there. So we're going to stay away from that. And it's kind of bent, but I think I can do it. I think, because I've got way more than 14 inches down here, and this is pretty straight. I think I can get my two pieces for back there, at least one of them. So we're going to cut that out, and then we'll see how that goes. I was able to mill out both pieces out of this chunk of tree that I still had. And I don't know why I keep messing this up in the video. These pieces are 3/4 by 1 1/4. And I even had it in my head wrong when I was measuring down back there off of that rear deck beam and nearly screwed it up. But before I had it all screwed in, I took the tape measure and measured from the very bottom of the seat cleat up to the top of the deck rail and made sure I was 6 inches, and at one point I wasn't. Here I'm just taking the angles off with the bandsaw and getting these ready to be fitted in against the hull and on that back bulkhead. It's really hard to drill from the back side and then into that oak, and the oak is so hard. You have to get those holes cleaned out really well in order to be able to drive the screws. Now on this side I was driving the screws with my right hand, so that was easier. When I got to the other side, it was pretty difficult, but we got it. And the rear seat cleats are in. I did make a mistake earlier. Measure twice. That it's 6 inches, so that's just the whole thing. Let's measure 6 inches so that's from the bottom up to the top of the deck beam. So anyway, we got it. And I did put these in here. Come around this post. I put these in here with these little pieces of oak on the back. You see there where they're in there, screwed in with bronze screws. So there's ones in the front. See you next time. There should be a little red subscribe button over to the right. Click that if you like the video and want to subscribe. Also, remember to check us out at Jenkins Boat Works on Facebook too. Thanks.